past month, you've had a message to fans every single week about noise. Do you have a message for them this week with it being the final game?
Well, they're going to have plenty of rest after this one. 2 weeks.
Did you see the Sean Payton quote insinuating that Denver fans will have some extra rest for the Super Bowl?
Nah, I never.
They said they have 2 weeks to rest up from the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I ain't saying. Man, get rest in Cancun too. I think every day. So it is what it is.
A little spicy. There's been better, but at least it's something. A little paprika. Getting ready for the Patriots Broncos AFC Championship. I'm surprised Sean Payton let himself go there with the, our fans will have 2 weeks to rest after the AFC Championship, because you need to lean into this we're not supposed to win vibe. You need to lean into the we have no chance without our starting quarterback vibe. You don't want to push back and be presumptuous and then try to take some of the steam out of this thing that could help you push away to victory when nobody believes in us. So I was surprised by that. But it's always interesting when you get a little back and forth. And we may have some more back and forth before it's all said and done, because the Broncos are going to be looking for anything they can coming from the Patriots, and the Patriots are going to be looking for anything they can come from the Broncos to get themselves just a little extra focused, a little extra motivated, a little extra determined to go take care of business on Sunday.
Mike, it's a different day. I mean, I think both teams have said some things that suggest that they're very confident with what's going to happen on Sunday in Denver. So you have that back and forth between Peyton. Hey, they're going to have 2 weeks to rest. Keyshawn Boutte saying they can rest in Cancun. And then, Peyton has been bullish. I don't think I'm exaggerating. He's been bullish on Jarrett Stidham. Hey, you watch. He's going to sling it. You watch. I feel like I got 2 number 1 quarterbacks. And then Milton Williams, I don't know if you saw this. Milton Williams was asked what he knew about Stidham. He said nothing. He said nothing. I haven't. We'll watch the film. And then he had the little shot at the end. He said they didn't like him over Bo. I know that. I think both sides feel like they're going to win. Obviously, but I think both teams feel very confident going into the game that they should win.
Well, and if the Patriots win, it'll be something they've never done in franchise history, win a playoff game in Denver, at least since the merger. I don't know what the history was when they were both in the AFL, but all I've ever seen is 0-4 all-time Patriots in Denver, and most importantly, 0-3 during the Brady-Belichick years. 3 different times. I remember the Champ Bailey 100-yard interception return back in 2005 set the stage for the Steelers to beat the Broncos and get to Super Bowl 40, which was played in Detroit, where Jerome Bettis is from. If you have 20 years later,
if you haven't
20
heard,
years later, you still can't get away from Jerome Bettis is from Detroit. But that game, that win by the Steelers, was set up by the Broncos beating the Patriots, because I don't think the Steelers would have beaten the Patriots that year, frankly. The Patriots back in those days had the Steelers' number. Patriots unable to win in Denver. That's going to be a big factor in this, I think, for Drake May, for Mike Vrabel, for the rest of the Patriots to go out there to altitude. They try to downplay it. You can't downplay it. I've been there. You can't downplay it. It hits you. It's real. They're going out the day before. And as Mike Vrabel said, we don't have enough time to acclimate. We'd have to go last Thursday. We had a game. We had a game against the Texans that weekend. We can't go out. But I do think just showing up one day and playing the next day is a calculated risk, because I do think that any extra time you can get out there and hydrate out there and be smart out there, you're going to be better adjusted to when you go out and exert yourself at 5,280 feet.
Yeah, it is and you mentioned the Patriots in Denver. Yeah, it is. It has been something that has really handcuffed the organization forever. It doesn't, Brady and Belichick couldn't do it. Steve Grogan and Tony Eason couldn't do it. I mean, it's really been a hard time for the Patriots out in Denver. Altitude may be one of the issues. I'll tell you another issue, and this probably showed up when the last Manning versus Brady game. That's when Belichick and Manning met at midfield, and and Manning said, "I think this is my last rodeo, coach." And so he ultimately retired after they beat the Panthers in the Super Bowl. But that game, what really showed up was the noise and the silent count. The Patriots were a mess offensively. They must have had, Mike, 5, 6 false starts. And when they didn't have false starts, the Denver defenders were timing up the snap and just destroying everything, destroying the protections. And so that's a real thing in Denver. They're proud of it, and they're loud now. But remember back in the day at Mile High Stadium, when you were watching on TV, the cameras really, and it used to be like this at RFK Stadium too, the cameras were shaking because just the crowd was so raucous and into it. So I think that is a major issue for the Patriots because they do have offensive line issues, and Denver leads the league in sacks. So that is going to be a storyline that's going to be there the entire game.
Yeah, and when you start going silent count, you take away that split-second advantage that the offensive line has to start. Think about it as a pass play. You're starting back into your pass block stance. You have a little extra, and it doesn't take much, just a little extra to begin the process of preparing to fend off the defender. You take that away, you got a problem. And that Denver crowd has gotten louder and louder every week, except the week when they were booing on the Thursday night when the Broncos struggled with the Raiders but still won that game. They were booing about halfway through the season, week 9, week 10. They are not going to be booing on Sunday, and it is going to be a massive test for the Patriots. It's a massive test for Jarrett Stidham, who steps in for Bo Nix as the starting quarterback. Stidham has 4 career starts, 2 with the Raiders, 2 with the Broncos. This is his 3rd season in Denver. Hasn't thrown a regular season pass since the final week of the 2023 season when he picked up 2 games because they put Russell Wilson in bubble wrap for financial reasons. Hasn't played since then, but he's been in the system. He's got 1 more year in the system than Bo Nix. Here's Jarrett Stidham on avoiding doing too much when his number is called on Sunday.
What I always go back to in any game, regular season, preseason, AFC Championship, it's still the same game. So obviously there's implications and winner advances, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's still football, and that's how I view it. So I'm not treating it any differently. I'm not treating my preparation any differently. I'm just going to go out there and play and be myself. I think that's the biggest thing is, I'm not going to try to be somebody that I'm not. And I know how I can play, and I know the kind of guys I got around me and the kind of team that we have. So we all just have to play within ourselves.
He's kind of got that Kenny Powers after a year on a desert island look to him. I hadn't realized that.
I like it. You like it?
Before with that flow. Hey, I like it. And he was talking also this week. We played the clip yesterday. Nobody recognizes him when he goes anywhere. That'll change. You win on Sunday. You become the second quarterback who didn't start a regular season game to get a postseason start and win, joining Frank Reich, who was with us yesterday to talk about the challenge that Stidham faces. You pull off that victory, you deliver a Super Bowl berth, they're going to know who you are. And everybody's going to know who you are come Super Bowl week because it's going to be Jarrett Stidham versus either Sam Darnold or Matthew Stafford in the Super Bowl if they can pull off the victory. And I think a lot of people just don't want the Broncos to go to the Super Bowl because of that, because they don't want to have backup quarterback as the starter. They don't want someone that nobody really knows. Well, let's look at it as glass half full. It's kind of exciting. This is a guy who's been around, was a Patriot. At one point, they thought he could be the successor to Tom Brady. That didn't last long. And he got traded to the Raiders. Josh McDaniels liked him enough to trade for him when McDaniels was there, and Peyton liked him enough to bring him in and keep him for 3 seasons. So, there aren't enough bad quarterbacks to go around. I say that all the time. Stidham has done well enough to be the guy that Peyton trusts as the backup to an unproven still Bo Nix, who is not Peyton Manning or John Elway or Tom Brady. We're not talking about a dramatic drop here from Bo Nix to Jarrett Stidham. So I'm kind of intrigued by all of this, and I'm rooting for the guy.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by it too. I'm just trying to think of, even if when I hear comparisons to, hey, this guy, that guy, well, it's kind of like Jeff Hostetler. Oh, not really. And I heard Sean Payton say, hey, we weren't out of it in New Orleans when Breeze went down and we had Teddy Bridgewater and he won 5 straight for us. Yeah, but Teddy Bridgewater was a first-round pick and he had been a starter before. I'm just trying to think of a situation, and there really is not a good comp. Even I don't think Nick Foles is a good comp because Nick Foles had played. Yeah, he outplayed Tom Brady and he's a Super Bowl MVP, but Nick Foles, that wasn't his first. The Super Bowl wasn't his first game. The championship game wasn't his first game being out there. This guy hasn't played in 2 years, and the first game he's going to play is not in relief of Russell Wilson, who they wanted out. It's in relief of Bo Nix in the conference championship. I mean, at home, this is. I really haven't seen anything like it. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm not dreading it. I'm just looking forward to the story because it's such an unusual story.
Of the 6 prior times that a quarterback who didn't start a regular season game was thrust into service for a postseason game as the starter, only once has it happened in a conference championship. That was 1972. Roger Staubach, who had started games in 71. They went through, isn't it weird? Multiple of the dynasties of the 70s went through this quarterback carousel. The Steelers had Joe Gilliam and Terry Hanratty and Terry Bradshaw, and they finally settled on Bradshaw. The Cowboys had Craig Morton and Roger Staubach and finally settled on Staubach. But there it is, 1972. Lost 26-3 to Washington, which would go on to lose to the Dolphins and Bob Greasy. And they had I think it was more injury-driven, but Bob Greasy, Earl Morrall, it was just... So maybe it was a combination of there weren't great passers back then, and the rules allowed quarterbacks to get pounded into the ground, so they got injured a lot. But the one guy to pull off the victory is Reich. He's the guy, and not only replacing Jim Kelly, but down 35-3, pulled off the incredible win. That's it. He's the only one that didn't start in the regular season that got the postseason start and won it, and Jarrett Stidham's going to try to become number 2.
Yeah, and he said something about the guys around him, and I think that point has been missed a bit. I like the Broncos have the number 1 seed for a reason, for a good reason, and I know they had a lot of one-score games, and that you mentioned that Thursday night game they're booed against the Raiders, Chip Kelly's Raiders. At that point, they were just and they never got better offensively. They just couldn't move the ball. But this is kind of who they are. They're probably, it's fair to say, probably the most complete team in the AFC. And so if you take Bo Nix out of it, you still look at the Broncos' offensive line. The Broncos' offensive line is better than the Patriots' offensive line. They get after the quarterback. They're superior to the Patriots in rushing the quarterback. The Patriots have done that in the playoffs. They've looked great. They've put up historic numbers in the playoffs, but in the regular season, this was not a great pass rushing team. So I think Jarrett Stidham is right. He knows what he has around him, and he doesn't have to be the savior for the Broncos to pull off the upset. And I don't know how they look at it, how they talk privately when they're just looking at when they're listening to us and reading all the commentary. I don't know if they look at it and say, don't you guys think it's funny that we're underdogs? How are we underdogs? We're the best team in the AFC. We've got to prove it.
Sean Payton will say, I don't pay any attention to that. I can't control that. That's what he'll say publicly. Privately, I suspect there's something. 4.5 is the spread. He'll find some way to put 4.5 everywhere. They'll all have it in their lockers. It'll be the theme of the day. There'll be something. He'll have some prop. He'll have some gimmick that illustrates to them that they are 4.5-point underdogs as the number 1 seed, the biggest underdogs a conference championship candidate at home has ever been. So that will be a talking point privately, not publicly, but privately. Hey, I picked the Broncos to win yesterday when Sims and I were doing our picks podcast.
Hey, how about that?
I picked them to win. Yeah. Because they have a great defense.
Convincingly?
Like 27-23, something like that, 27-24, close game. Yeah. But I just think that it's too easy to say, oh, Bo Nix is out, they're going to lose. No, but I mean, all due respect to Bo Nix, it's not Patrick Mahomes that they lost. And Jarrett Stidham is a guy that's there for a reason, and it's Sean Payton. And, yeah, Payton has won without Drew Brees. It's the system. It's the confidence they're going to have in this guy. Payton will build him up to the other players. That's the challenge when the other players are kind of like looking with confusion. The coach speaks with authority, and the players understand. And then the guy goes out and makes a couple of throws, and everybody's on board with it. I think they'll be fine. And I think the challenge for the Patriots is going to be going into that loud environment. Look, it's not their fault they had an easy schedule. And I don't like the whole easy schedule talk because you don't pick your schedule. This isn't like some college where you're lining up a bunch of cream puffs. You're a boxing promoter, and you're all them bums that Rocky fought between Rocky II and Clubber Lang showing up. They were all hand-picked. They were all cream puffs, as Mickey told Rocky. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.